ahog eye, shukok, nglui eye hog, waking, nglui slumber, slumber, nglui waking, lulun, rulu, ot magefa azanafel tarn, kaf img un paradis, un img gifts, il kiarnak shalawams, Votma ditogua.
And as you say that last line, just before you begin to repeat it, and it repeats over and over, in time with the music, Lord Hawthorne joins you in that last sentence. And as you say, Votma ditogua, your husband by the side of you simply says, praise ditogua. And then he leaves you, reciting this on the balcony over and over and over, falling in line with the music being played, falling in line with the subconscious revelry that seems to be rippling around the room. Can everybody give me a power roll, please?
Hard success from the Reverend, 26 versus 65.
Okay. Anastasia, what about yourself?
Also a hard success with 24 over 65.
Okay. And Charlotte Lambert, how about you?
Breaking the habit of a lifetime. I have a hard success too at 23
power roll, are you
against
sure, Miss
55.
Lambert?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. It's because I'm a Don now, see.
Okay. And Lord Cosgrove?
Yes, keeping the streak going, Lord Cosgrove also got a hard success.
My word. And Thomas Prideaux?
And Thomas, of course, bucks the trend with a failure of 47 over 45. I feel this is worth spending 2 points of luck for.
Everything is worth spending luck for.
That's now a success, just.
Everybody who is at the Rabbit's Ball is dancing, is out on the veranda, is talking to potential future, shall we say, Cosgrove friends of the family. And we find that you all have a moment where you feel as if the entire manor rocks for a moment, almost sways for a moment. But it's all right, it's only for a moment. Everybody seems to get their sea legs rather quickly. Lord Cosgrove, this was rather unusual for you as you were sitting at a table.
Yes, I'm sure. Maybe the sherry is a bit stronger than I anticipated.
Oh, well, yeah. The sherry that we're drinking over in Holmouth wouldn't do that. Much more refined for you. Cosgrove, wasn't it, Lord Cosgrove?
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't catch your name.
Oh, don't worry. I'm rather new to the role. Mayor David Goff. There was a recent change of, shall we say, mayoral duties in Kingscombe.
Oh, fascinating. And are you acclimatizing to the new role?
Oh, very quickly, yes. I mean, there's not much choice. I was kind of tapped on the shoulder by you-know-who, Lord H., and told, step up to the role, my boy. Although I think I'm older than him. It was rather patronizing. But I found myself Mayor of Kingscombe. Rather excited. Lots to do. I think I get to go to the spa for free.
Oh, wonderful. You are clearly a man who has been blessed with fortune, good fortune.
Oh, absolutely. And some would say I'm a rather intellectual fellow as well. Not one to be duped or dubbed by anybody.
My kind of fellow. So, tell me, does this good fortune of yours extend to the gaming table?
Oh, I see what you're saying here, Lord Cosgrove. And I think if it was anybody below your station, I'd bloody have them and say, what the blasted are you talking about? But since you're a refined man, between you and I, Cosgrove, yes, it does.
Then, as wonderful as all this dancing is, I have taken the liberty of setting up a little, shall we say, hideaway from the main festivities. Would you care to accompany me?
I would be delighted. Anywhere that I can be out of sight and be up to a little bit of naughtiness, away from the prying eyes, then I think that sounds like a bloody good idea. What are we talking about, dice or cards?
Oh, your pleasure. You are the mayor after all.
I am the mayor, yes. Well, let's go. You find yourself, Lord Cosgrove, returning to one of the rooms that you probably may have scoped out earlier, that you may have haunted. One of the gambling rooms off to the side. One that you know is there for the elderly clientele, but then there's another one which is for more of a private audience, and that's the room that you seem to find yourself heading towards. That's the room that you pointed out for Thomas to bring his, well, unwilling victim, shall we say.
Yes, his new friends. But, yeah, I'm assuming it's just me and the mayor at the moment.
Absolutely.
In which case I'll say, I'm hoping we'll have some more company soon, but for the time being, as there's just two of us, maybe dice would be a good icebreaker.
Oh, indeed. Let us get a quick game. I'll tell you what. Yeah, roll these. I'll roll these, and we'll see what's going on. And then when your chap turns up, we'll get ourselves a little bit of 21 on the go. Right. Let's have it, Lord Cosgrove. Let's see what happens. Lord Cosgrove, could you give us a gaming roll?
That's only an ordinary success.
Oh, we've got a fail over here. We've got a 55 over 45. So there's a moment where he kind of rolls and pauses. Would you bloody believe it? I suppose beginner's luck on your part, Cosgrove.
Indeed, but I would be churlish of me not to offer you the opportunity to win that back.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Are we playing fish tokens, or are we playing? Are we going a bit bigger here? Are we playing with actual money?
Well, I suppose we could play for money, though that does seem rather crass. I think at this stage, why don't we just play for goodwill?
Oh, I've got lots of goodwill to give away. That sounds wonderful.
Oh. How that warms my heart to hear.
Right, well, let's have another go. And Cosgrove, we find ourselves moving to Thomas, who's out on the separate veranda to Lord Dunn. And Thomas, you, I believe, had given us a spot hidden roll to see if there was anybody out there that you were able to, Judascope.
I did, and I succeeded with a 40 under 50.
You find a gentleman that you've introduced yourself to now, and they are known as Alan Hill.
Ah, Mr. Hill, is it?
Yes.
Frankly,
Yes.
good luck meeting you out here. How goes the evening?
Oh, splendid, rather wonderful. All seems lovely. What a wonderful event. I've really enjoyed. Do you know the rabbit nibbles on the way in? Absolutely bloomin' superb.
Absolutely, I have to agree. Although I have to say, it's a little chilly out here now that the night started to come in. That sea breeze really does add a bit of a je ne sais quoi to the evening, what?
Yes, I suppose it does. And he's got a little plate in front of him, and he's just kind of... So, did you have the poached rabbit, or were you on the rabbit roulette?
The roulette, absolutely. In fact, I think I know where Chef stashed a couple of extra plates of it. If you wish to partake a little more.
Really?
Yes, and...
Oh, very good. I can't get enough of the roulette. It's pretty fantastic. I'm not used to this kind of fine dine cuisining, you see. I'm sure it's going to play bloody hell with me in the morning, but whilst we're here, we might as well get what we can.
Well, while we're here, let us live life for the full. I mean, eat, drink, and be merry, and I guarantee you, if you've come along with me, the being merry will take care of itself, if you're so inclined, sir.
I think so. Thomas, how are you going to convince this person to come with you?
I think this is a charm roll. I think we are... Yes, I think this is absolutely a charm roll. He's charming the pants off him. Oh, sorry, the breeches.
Yeah, one stage at a time.
And that is a 65 on the nose. My charm is 65.
Oh, well, as he licks the red wine jus from his fingers, he then, right, well, let as you say, the good times continue forward with things. Let's go and find some more rabbit roulette, although I think there was some pan-fried rabbit haunch as well. Perhaps we could pick some of that up?
Absolutely. And tell you, are you a gambling man, sir? Just...
Well, I know I have played a game of cards before.
Ah.
Yes.
Well, I as I said, I know Chef has put some rabbit to one side, and
Oh, really?
you know, I always find the little bit of excitement helps with the digestion. Men sitting around a table, cards in hand,
Eating rabbit?
eating rabbit, absolutely, done dutifully would exactly what one should do. You're speaking my language here, sir.
Lead the way. You had me at rabbit.
Ah, follow on. Lead on, Macduff.
Thomas, as you lead Hill off into one of these gambling rooms, this den of iniquity that seems to be growing by the very minute, we return to the Reverend on the dance floor, who's just felt this jolt, this movement, this rocking as he's been dancing. Reverend, the dance comes to an end. You bow, Lady Dunn bows. You have a quick moment to say a word or move on. What would you like to do?
He'll take his bow and say thank you so much. And if you'd care to introduce me to your husband tonight, I'd be most appreciated.
Oh, of course. Well, I believe that he's on his way. He'll be making an appearance on the dance floor, I think, is what Lord Dunn's next intentions are, if I think about this time in the evening. So, well, would you like to come with me, Reverend, so that you can speak to him as he makes his way? I believe he's near the balcony.
I would be delighted. Thank you very much.
Very good. As she does, she takes you off the dance floor and you find yourself up the steps towards the southern end of the observing floor, past the viewing area, the long corridor that looks over the dance floor, and then you arrive in the balcony. Now, in the balcony, you can see that Lord Dunn is just coming back from the far end from the veranda. Now, he has a box, a long, oblong box in his hand, a wooden box that he seems to be holding quite tightly. But between you and Lord Dunn are Lord Hawthorne, the Reverend Giles Marsh, and Lady Clara Hawthorne. You seem to have found yourself in the, what shall we say, the upper crust of the Rabbit's Ball.
Oh, boy.
Reverend, what would you like to do?
Reverend is going to look at the box and say, oh, I say, is that a gift of some tea? Ma.
No. Reverend, no tea. This is... He looks at Hawthorne. You can see Hawthorne looks at him and just slowly shakes his head. And Lord Dunn looks back at you. Oh, it's a box, Reverend.
No, I'm pulling your leg. Lady Hawthorne very kindly gave Miss Anastasia a box of tea when they visited. I was just coming to invite yourself and Lady Dunn over to Prideaux Manor at your earliest convenience to maybe have some dinner with us, as Lord and Lady Hawthorne have already visited them, and you know, as part of the Kingscombe Health Spa. It would be good to get to know all the business partners one-to-one.
Dunn, again, looks towards Hawthorne. Lord Hawthorne looks at you, looks at Dunn, nods. Lord Dunn? Yes! Dinner! Yours! Wonderful. Tomorrow, perhaps? Day after, maybe?
We shall make arrangements.
Yes. If you'll excuse me, I have duties. Master of Ceremonies, Hawthorne! Hawthorne steps to you, Reverend, and you see Dunn scuttle very quickly past you, away from you, and kind of down the viewing gallery there, over the dance floor. But Lord Hawthorne steps in and he puts hands on your arms, either side of you, almost holds you in place. Reverend Prideaux, it is an absolute pleasure having you here. Look, come here, come here. And he pulls you over, Reverend. Pulls you over right to the real viewing area of the balcony, reserved for the absolute elite of Kingscombe society, where you can look over the dance floor. And he points over the dance floor at Anastasia and Tobias, who seem to be, dare I say it, dancing for a second time. Deep breaths all round. Reverend Prideaux, it appears that your niece and my son seem to have, well, an undeniable connection.
Isn't that marvelous how it would seem the stars are aligning to bring these two star-crossed lovers together?
Some might say the stars are right, Reverend. Some might say.
And he'll look up in the sky. Can he do a quick astronomy roll to say something notable about the sky tonight?
Do you know, I'm going to say that on the western side of the dance floor, it is open to the gardens, so there are lots of windows there. So you might not be able to see the whole sky, but you are able to see some of the sky. So if you'd like to make an astrology roll, I'm happy to see what the result is.
That's an 89 versus 60 failure. Nuts.
You look out at the stars, and you know that you're looking west. You know, because you're a man of astronomy. Not astrology, but astronomy. And you know the stars. They don't seem right, Reverend. They're not in the right place, Reverend. The stars, of all things tonight, the stars aren't right. What's wrong, dear Reverend? You seem to be turning a pale shader than usual.
Oh, well, maybe I'm not quite orientated correctly. This is west, isn't it, Hawthorne?
It is. West. And you see, if you look just down there through the west, look down rather than up, you see down there. That's the Kingscombe Bay. That's where we played Pall Mall.
Ah, yes.
You see that? Just up there? Up into the town. That there, that big building, that's the spa. That's our investment right there.
Yes, the investment that has served this town well for generations, it seems.
Generations served us all well. Look beyond the spa. You see the bigger house at the far end of town there with the lights on.
Yes, I take it he does.
That's Hawthorne Manor. And now he literally puts his hands either side of your head, Reverend, and he turns your head just a little further. He points to the top of town now, really close to your ear. And you see out there, Reverend, that large building over there at the top of town, above the river? That's Prideaux Manor. And if you can see Prideaux Manor, Hawthorne Manor, the Kingscombe Spa and the bay from here, and he turns your head to face his face, only mere inches away from yours, Reverend. He says, imagine what I can see from my manor. Imagine the things I have seen from my home. Imagine what it's like to literally look out over one's kingdom. Reverend, you could be a king if you wanted. And he lets go of your face really quickly and steps away, giving you space, giving you a moment of this bizarre, intense connection. Reverend, if you'd like to wear a crown, I suggest you pay attention tonight. And then he looks over the side of the balcony, and you see that Lord Dunn is now in the center of the dance floor, and Lord Dunn is looking up at you. Reverend, here, come here. Please.
If he's gesturing at this reverend and not the other reverend, then the reverend shall oblige.
Yeah, Reverend Prideaux, yes, you.
Do excuse me. Lord Hawthorne, Lady Hawthorne, Lady Dunn, do excuse me. He makes his excuses and has an uncomfortable feeling as he walks away from the den of vipers towards the poor sacrificial lamb that is caught up in everything. Oh dear.
Anastasia, you're in your second dance with Tobias moving around the dance floor. You can't help but notice that Lord Dunn, and within a few moments you see that Reverend Prideaux, your uncle, seem to be gathering centrally in the dance floor. This is most unheard of, gathering in the middle of the dance floor during a series of dances, but you are still entwined in this dance with Tobias. And he's saying to you, were asking me to sit in the throne, but it was for you. I knew it in the dream. It was for you, the throne, Anastasia. It was supposed to be you there.
Is the throne the sacrifice?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what you saw in your dream, but I thought we had the same dream in mine. You sat in the throne.
I didn't. You wanted me to, and I wasn't sure. You see, sitting on the throne felt a lot like drowning, and I've had dreams before where someone was pulling me in the water, my brother usually, and it just did not feel. And there was that red light, but there wasn't the red light in the dream with you, but there was in the previous dreams. And then I wake up soaked sometimes, and it just none of it feels right. It feels not right.
I don't want you to be scared of these dreams, Anastasia. If I'm there, I will look after you, I promise. I will do everything I can to protect you from whatever is happening, from whatever is going to happen. I want you to just know that I have your best interests at heart.
What about the sacrifice? Will someone else have to take my place?
I don't think it's a sacrifice in the straight sense of someone dying. I think it's more of a sacrifice in terms of from what I've heard my father saying, it's about people giving something. The threat on your life might be something different, but this sacrifice is people giving. It's hard to explain, Anastasia. It's hard to explain, and whilst we're here on this dance floor, you hear a scream, a blood-curdling scream. Just before we hear that scream, Thomas, you escort Alan Hill to a table with Lord Cosgrove, and I believe the good mayor, David Goff, who's recently been appointed and by all accounts is going to be an amazing mayor.
Cosgrove, old boy.
Ah, young Prideaux.
Fancy seeing you here. Look who I've like to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill, this is Lord Cosgrove, and I do not believe we have had the pleasure of meeting your companion, Lord Cosgrove.
I'm the mayor of Kingscombe. Pretty big deal around these parts. Chosen by Lord Hawthorne himself. So, who are you?
Myself, I am Lord Thomas Prideaux.
Oh God, I'm so sorry, Prideaux. I am so sorry. I didn't realise you were one of the ruling families. Huge apologies. Look, as the mayor, I can do anything for you. I am so sorry, Cosgrove. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. And who are you?
Not at all, old chap. Not at all.
Sorry. Lord Prideaux. Absolute pleasure.
Not at all. And please, sir, it's quite natural to be sensitive to rank, and as I am not quite the rankiest in the room, but still, it's nice that one knows one's place. But please, we were going to enjoy some cards, and oh, damn and blasted! Someone seems to have cleared the rabbit away. I'm so sorry, Mr. Hill. There shall be no rabbit for you just yet. I tell you what, Cosgrove, I'll go and get some more rabbit for Mr. Hill. I'll be back momentarily. I'm sure you won't mind. Mr. Johnson, do you like rabbit?
Johnson literally just grabs your coat and just with you in it, just picks you up from your chair and puts you to standing, and then just pats you on the back. No.
Okay. Rabbit for 3. Okay, I shall be back momentarily.
And if they don't have any rabbit, then perhaps some goat.
And with that, Thomas leaves the room very, very quickly.
Thomas, you find yourself walking back into the main ballroom. You can see the dance area. Just as you walk into the main ballroom, you hear the same scream, blood-curdling, echoing through the entire ballroom, garnering everybody's attention. Charlotte, you're dancing with Emily Dunn on the dance floor. You too hear this blood-curdling scream. Lady Hawthorne, you've been expecting this scream, and you continue reciting your wonderful passage. This, as you say, toast. The band, the orchestra, the violin, who is definitely not Dallyworth, continue playing. They don't even skip a beat. It's an expectation that this scream happens. And it just so appears that Charlotte Lambert, Reverend George Prideaux, Thomas Prideaux, and Miss Anastasia Prideaux all happen to be on the dance floor as this scream ripples through the room. Mr. Peter Owens, you are standing by a telescope known as the Sea Spotter, looking out at the ocean. You have a bloodied knife in your hands as you sit on the floor, weeping. And there is a certain gentleman standing over you who has, well, burning red eyes. What is it that you do, Mr. Peter Owens?
He's just gonna... He's sitting there, he's gonna collect himself. He's just like... Why'd you make me do it, Mr. Jenkins? He was never gonna do anything. Why'd you make me do it?
I didn't make you do anything, Owens. I can't see the future. There is one who reads futures in the cards, but it's not me, Owens. You wielded the blade, Owens. You killed him, not me.
So you made me do it. What about my family, sir? What about my family? You gotta leave them alone. You gotta let us go.
Don't worry about your wife and your daughter, Mr. Owens. I'll make sure they get what's coming to them. But you, Mr. Owens... you, Mr. Owens, you have one last message to deliver for me. Now, get me that book. There.
The one on the floor. Is it the book?
It is the one on the floor that you brought with you, that you were handing over.
He grabs the book off the floor and with shaking hand passes it to Jenkins, but then starts to move away if he can, sort of shuffles back a little bit to get out of his reach.
Oh, you can move as far away as you like.
Ah, yeah, he's going to start moving off down the cliff as far as he can.
He's going to go where?
He's going to start moving sort of down, away from the cliff, but sort of away from Jenkins.
Okay, give me a stealth roll, because I'd like to think that Jenkins will let you, slightly shuffle away, but if you start to scurry, off to London, I think he might have a reaction.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's a little bit distracted by the book, but...
I tell you what, give me a stealth roll. Do you know what? I appreciate that. Let's have a stealth roll with a bonus die.
Well, it's okay, because I got a hard success.
Well, you might get an extreme success.
That's true. Let's give it a go. Oh, no. 52 over 45 with the bonus, so 21 over 45 hard success.
Okay. So you give Jenkins the wrapped up book that you brought. This was the exchange, wasn't it? This was the handover with with Reverend George's man, wasn't it? This was the I'm giving him the book that the Reverend has paid for.
That's right, yeah. It was Lord Prideaux's diary.
Lord Matthew Prideaux's diary. Jenkins unwraps the book before him, opens it, expecting to see Lord Matthew Prideaux's diary. But he sees pictures, drawings, red hoods, wolves, jack-in-the-boxes. This is some kind of child's book. He slams the book shut.
Owens! Owens!
And at this point, Peter Owens breaks into a sprint to get as far away from Jenkins as he can.
Because of the successful stealth roll, I'm going to say that this isn't something that then draws the attention of Jenkins. I think, you got a hard success on your stealth roll. This is an opportunity, you are able to escape. It is open land to a degree, but there are a number of paths from the Sea Spotter telescope that either lead upland, lead back into Kingscombe, lead down to the beach. I'm going to ask you to give me a 1d6 and then halve it, please.
That's a 5.
Mr. Owens, you find yourself running down the nearest and, I would say, unruliest path. Stones, drops, steps that are carved out of the side of the mountain here, but you find yourself running down to the seafront. It's the shortest distance to the nearest element of what you might perceive as civilization, away from Jenkins, other people, safety in numbers. But you run, and you run, and you run, and you get yourself as fast as you can to the beach. Reverend, Charlotte, Thomas, Anastasia, you are on the dance floor. The music is picking up to a crescendo. You begin to hear a voice in the music. Not only is Lady Clara Hawthorne speaking words that are indecipherable, but you now see that there's a number of people around you, around the observing floor, the viewing floor, that are also repeating these words. They seem to be echoed out. You can see that there's a couple of people now that are not seem to be wearing. Reverend, Charlotte, you've seen these before. These blue gowns with hoods upon them, with a gold crest upon the outlays, with bizarre symbols sewn into the side. You may have seen these at the Heart of the Sea Chapel, standing at the side, reciting these words with Lady Clara Hawthorne, and you realise and you recognise in this moment that something significant is happening. You see, around you, as you stop, Tobias stops Anastasia, but he holds your hand. You're standing in a circle. It's Tobias. It's Anastasia. It's the Reverend. It's Emily. It's Charlotte. It's Thomas. Lord Dunn stands in the middle of you with this small box, wooden box, no bigger than the size of his forearm. Here comes the scream again, and again, and this time it's a shout. Then there's another scream. This isn't just one person. There are screams, there are shouts, there are people running, there are people crawling, screaming, shouting, fighting. But the dancing around you is carrying on. You're in the center of this dance floor, but the dance continues around you, almost picking up its pace. The band almost playing orchestrally out of synchronization with each other, now almost discordant with one another. Violins peaking, pianos smashing. You hear these sounds banging around you as this music begins to play beyond, and you hear, entwined within this music, the voice led by Lady Clara Hawthorne, speaking out over everybody. And then you see them. Can everybody give me a spot hidden roll, please? Lord Cosgrove.
I don't want to.
It is you as well, I'm afraid.
The Reverend is very happy. 92 versus 36. That's a failure, so he doesn't see the horrors coming.
What horrors? Miss Lambert, how did you roll?
I have a regular success of 25 versus 44. Lucky me.
Charlotte, you're that player who only succeeds when you don't want to succeed. Anastasia.
Totally. Anastasia rolled 94 over 49, which is a fun palindrome. but a failure.
It is indeed. And Lord Cosgrove, how did you roll?
84 versus 67, so a merciful failure.
And Thomas, how did you roll?
A 19 under 50, so a hard success, alas.
We start with you then, Thomas. You walk out, beginning to cut the corner of the dance floor, which is already an incredibly bad social etiquette, walking on the dance floor when you could walk around it. But as you do, you realise as you walk across and you hear a scream. You can't help but turning and walking towards, well, it's your family, actually. It's the Reverend and your sister, and it's Miss Lambert. And you're now standing in a circle with them. Lord Dunn's there. The scream comes again. You turn around. Thomas, you see by the entrance of where you entered, there is, dare I say it, a horrific creature. There is something of which you never wish to see in your lifetime. You saw this in a tube. You saw this with rods in its head, its scalp pulled back, its brain revealed. This scaled creature with eyes distorted and pulled to the sides of its head, yellow eyes with slits in them. This thing that must be about 8 feet tall, claws like razors, scaled, webbed fingers, razor-sharp teeth, standing in the doorway, standing at the stairs to the viewing deck, standing at the door to the gardens and the veranda. Thomas, you see that every exit to this room seems to have one of these horrific, aquatic, scaled monstrosities standing at them, and they are standing inhumanly still, as if they are waiting. Charlotte, you see all of these creatures, but you see Thomas. You see how scared he is of what he sees. Thomas, you get to see something a little extra with your hard success. The dance continues around you, and you can't understand. These things have appeared, these monsters have appeared, they've blocked all of the exits, but you are looking, and you see as the dance continues, there are more of these things, and they are moving towards you and your family from all directions.
In that case, Thomas's, I think, first instinct is to protect the family if he can. As much as the bluff comes and he's not particularly strong or brave, in this particular manner where there is no escape, it's definitely fight over flight. And Thomas will put his hand to his back and produce the horse pistol that he secured behind his back earlier, and hoarsely cry to his family, "Get behind me, all of you!" And waving vainly at the froggy fish creatures with metal spikes in their head, we'll yell, "Get away, all of you! Back off, back away! Don't take another step nearer."
You can see, Thomas, that as you threaten with your horse pistol and these creatures that seem so inhuman, but then unusually have this carving down the center of their head, the skin pulled back, part of the skull removed, and a number of metal pins in their head. They don't seem to respond to your very significant threat.
Can the Reverend say, "Master Thomas, you've already made a bit of a scene this evening. Put the pistol down."
And you, Reverend, haven't yet at this moment seen what you have seen, but I'm going to allow you in a moment, following Thomas's pistol, to see what he sees. Just before you do, though, I'd just like to address some of these failures. Anastasia, you're holding Tobias's hand. You're standing in the circle. You see your brother pull out a gun. What do you do?
Tobias, what's happening? What is this? Did you know about this?
No, but just stay behind me. Stay behind me. And he holds your hand, but he pushes you behind him so that you're standing behind him. But you still have your autonomy. Is there anything that you'd like to do?
I think Anastasia has had the weird chanting, and I think she's smart enough to put two and two together. So I think she'd like to see if she has if she can see Lady Hawthorne, first of all.
Give me a spot hidden with a bonus die, because you can hear the chanting, you can sense where it's coming from, and everything has just gone from dance to crazy.
Nope. That's both failures.
It's because you can hear this chanting. You can hear her voice. You can hear her voice. I tell you what, I'm going to be generous. You can hear her voice. You're trying to look around and see where her voice is coming from, but you can't lock it down. But Anastasia, I'm going to let you have a listen roll. If you can pinpoint the sound of where she is, I'm going to say that you can clock her.
That's a success with 24 over 40.
You zone into her voice. You hear this almost echo, intrinsically wound within the music, now discordant and almost making you cringe with each chord that's played. Anastasia, you see Lady Hawthorne standing on the balcony, holding the scroll above you. What do you do?
I say to Tobias, we need to stop your mother. And she starts trying to make her way up there.
So you're in a central circle in the middle of the dance floor. You'd have to go past these creatures. In fact, actually, no. You begin to make your way up there. And as you do, Tobias is holding your hand and he's now following you. You're now pulling him across the dance floor. And as you pull into one direction, as if you're about to go off the dance floor, you see one of these scaled monstrosities with yellow eyes and pins in its head moving towards you. Claws out, almost wide, as if to try and pin you in.
Okay, change of plan, turn around.
As you change of plan and turn around, Reverend, you're on that dance floor. You didn't see immediately what was going on. What do you do?
He's looking at the situation. He's looking at what could happen if Thomas angers one of, let's face it, one of Dunn's creations. And he's going to just smile at Thomas and say, Thomas, you know there are bigger things going on here. Don't do anything rash. This is no position to be doing any violence. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword, Thomas. Remember your scriptures.
No, Uncle.
Turn the other cheek.
He who lives by the sword will live to fight another day. He who puts the gun down will be eaten by a fishman. This is not a time for pacifism, Uncle. This is a time for action, and this smells of Jenkins. I saw what he was doing with these creatures below the town. In the vats, the water, the red jelly, it's all making sense. This has his mark upon it. I don't know what you mean about Dunn. Keeper, have I spotted that Dunn has a wooden box?
Oh, absolutely.
And what does Dunn seem to be doing with this wooden box?
He's kind of standing in the middle of your group and he seems to be looking around, almost talking to himself. Oh, right. You're there? You're there?
So Dunn doesn't seem particularly surprised that there are...
I feel like this needs a roll. I feel like this needs a psychology roll, Thomas. I feel like you're trying to get free information out of me.
I am trying to get free information out of you. It was worth a try. Go on, let's give it a go. Ooh. I have a psychology of 10. That was a 90.
But psychology runs in the family.
You can't necessarily see... You don't necessarily understand what Dunn's doing. You feel like in his unusual standard lack of ability to communicate, he might even just be counting people for whatever reason. You have no immediate suspicion of his motives. But just as you do that and you turn and you see Dunn and the Reverend's giving you this, the Reverend is standing quite still and the Reverend is standing there eyeing up these horrific creatures that seem to be looking at him with their unblinking yellow eyes with slits in them. And your gun is pulled, Thomas. But just before you do anything with that gun, Lord Cosgrove, you're in a side room playing dice, and you hear the screams, you hear the shouts. What is it you do, Cosgrove?
Yes, that sounds a little troubling. Johnson, let me know what's going on out there.
Right you are, sir. Just give me a moment. And you can see that he bangs out of the door, out of the little gambling den that you're in. And you hear a thud, a bang, a struggle, and then... I hate to say it, Charlotte, Reverend, Thomas, Anastasia, you're all gonna need to give me a sanity roll as you've just seen someone ripped in half via their spine. But Lord Cosgrove, you didn't see it, so you're all right.
Yes, having heard that, I'll just shout out, do try not to be too rough with them, Johnson.
Sadly, the Reverend was half expecting it, and that is a hard success. 23 versus 56, but I fear even that hard success won't be enough to spare him from this sight.
1 sanity point. You've witnessed these creatures before, Reverend, and you are now seeing something horrific, which again, if we think of everything back to Chambers, you have seen some horrors, and arguably you're relatively hardened to the horrors that are being presented to you. Charlotte Lambert.
Charlotte has failed with a 93 against 41, and the evening was going so well up until then.
Back on form for Charlotte Lambert. I'm afraid that's
Yes.
2 points of sanity, Miss Lambert. And Anastasia.
Okay.
That is a success, 32 over 59. She has, of course, seen them before as well.
Indeed, and having seen them before, but also you were with the Reverend when you first saw Chambers, so you too have been the first to encounter such horrors that have been done to these people that you know and presumably in the past have cared about. So seeing this stranger torn in half is terrifying, but is 1 point of sanity. Thomas.
So, like Charlotte, all the best people get 93 on their sanity rolls. So that is 93 over 29. Thomas has seen these things before, and he really doesn't want to see more of them.
You, I'm afraid, Thomas, are losing 2 points of sanity. Please keep me aware of your sanity totals, your halves, your breaking points, etc., etc. I very much would like to know when you become, NPCs, I think is the reality there. When you join the cult, it would be interesting to know. So, Cosgrove, you're sitting across the table from Hill and Mayor Goff.
What the devil is going on out there? Johnson?
Oh,
Johnson!
Cosgrove, hate to be a bugger, but as mayor, I should probably try and sneak out, not be seen to be a part of this horrible...
Yes. I'm sure we can remember where we were.
Yeah. Right, I'll sneak out of the window. I'm not one for interrupting big events and things.
Are you sure as mayor if there isn't some sort of contretemps going on outside that you shouldn't see fit to try to bring some degree of order?
Right. Sorry, right. You right. Yes? Cosgrove, do you think there's some kind of role there? What are you trying to do here? Are you trying to persuade him? Are you... Is this an intimidation?
I'm just trying to let him know that I know that he's being a coward, and so that I've got something else to hold over him.
The I know you know role.
Oh, yes.
Well, you've succeeded. Right. Well, I could go out there, Cosgrove, but if I do, I feel that perhaps our friendship would come to an abrupt end.
Very well. Why don't you, avail yourself of the window, and I'm sure we can discuss this another time.
Yes, very good, right. And you hear that window open, he steps out, and momentary, within seconds, before the window even closes, you hear a, oh, God.
Johnson!
Lord Cosgrove, I appear to have sullied myself. Mr. Hill is sitting opposite you at the table, with a plate of rabbit. He seems to have stopped eating.
That is unfortunate. We'll keep it between ourselves. You just wait there, and I'll see where my man's got to.
Yes. Thank you, Lord Cosgrove. Lord Cosgrove, you step out of the gambling room and you see this dance floor. What you see is something rather unique, of which you're going to need to make a sanity roll upon. You see the dance floor is filled with dancers that seem to be dancing in complete ignorance of what's happening at the center of the dance floor. You immediately see past this circle of dancers that seem to be twirling around, the music playing in this brilliantly, beautifully discordant manner where these voices are echoing over the top, reciting these words, and you feel almost drawn to start saying them yourself, Cosgrove, but you hold yourself for a moment and you see, centrally in that room, is Tobias V, Anastasia, Reverend, Emily Dunn, Charlotte Lambert, and Thomas Prideaux, who is holding a gun. And what you see are these disgustingly horrific scaled fishmen with their skulls opened and their skin pulled back, and these metal rods sticking out of their head, all lurch forward, one for each of the individuals you see in this circle. Charlotte, Reverend, Thomas, Anastasia. Do you give any resistance to this movement of these, well, should we say, fish people leaning forward, gently, delicately? They're not lurching forward, they're not diving for you. It's almost a slow, delicate reaching out, of which they reach out and they take hold of your right hand. Does anybody offer resistance?
Charlotte looks at Emily, who she would hope knows what's going on at this point, and then she looks at Phillipe, and then finally she looks to see Anastasia. And how is she taking this?
I can tell you in
Because
order.
she hasn't forgotten Anastasia through all this.
Emily looks at you and just goes, "Oh, yes. As I said, you're here. The more of us are here, the better it is. You're here." You look over at Phillipe, who's now sitting on a table, drinking from a bottle of wine. And you look at him, and he puts the bottle of wine down and just gives you 2 thumbs up and almost just mouths the words, "I'm proud of you." You look at Anastasia, and she says,
Charlotte, what are we going to do?
I don't know. I think this is meant to happen, Anastasia.
I don't want it. I don't want it!
I don't know. I don't see we have another option. Did you see what just happened? That man?
I don't want it.
What do they want? What do they even want from us, Anastasia?
You're talking out loud. Reverend Thomas, you're welcome to join in. Tobias joins in as well. Anastasia, please, if we don't do what they want, then they will kill us. Look. And he puts out his right hand, and one of these creatures, these water-dwelling creatures, takes his hand and turns it so that the palm is facing up. And he just nods. We can't win this. Please don't do anything stupid.
Anastasia gives a quick look around for the hopeless possibility that there's an easy escape route anywhere in sight, on the secret doors, anything. But I'm assuming there's nothing.
I mean, you're welcome to roll for it, but you're in the middle of a dance floor, surrounded by dancers, immediately surrounded by, well, I think it's fair to call them lobotomized deep ones at this point. And it doesn't seem like there is any easy access, exit, secret or not, to anywhere, Anastasia.
So she will, to the extent of her ability, pick a short fishman that doesn't look very strong and give it her hand.
Charlotte, do you present your hand?
I think she does. slowly and with a little bit of hesitation, but then she sees Phillipe is nodding supportively while he drinks himself insensible, as he so often used to, and she does it.
Reverend, do you proffer your hand, seeing the, well, almost fatality of the situation?
The Reverend does proffer his hand to this poor creature and turns to Thomas and say, Thomas, if you don't understand a Bible scripture, how about you don't show everybody your cards immediately? Put your cards down, boy.
Thomas is going to look at his uncle, look at his sister, look at his cousin, and then look at Dunn, and try and work out if there is a way out of this. And will likely come to the same conclusion as Anastasia, that there is not. Maybe look over at Cosgrove in a sort of, well, you didn't get me. Sorry. And slop the pistol back in his jacket and follow suit with the rest of the Prideaux.
With all of the hands proffered, Emily Dunn, Tobias Hawthorne V, Anastasia, Thomas the Reverend, and Charlotte Dunn, all with their hands proffered forward, their right palms. It's in this moment that you hear Lady Clara Hawthorne's words change. They begin to take form in a language that you understand. They begin to form into words as you accept your inevitable fate. Lady Hawthorne, would you read those words for us, please?
Glui ahog eye, shugog, glui hog, waking, glui slumber, slumber, glui waking, Lulun, Lu ut megpa as an awful town, kaf img paradis, img gifts, ilil kianak shalawons, Vult ma dithogua.
And would you now read these words?
We break from one world into another, the waking into slumber, and the slumber into the waking. We draw upon the power of the collected dreams that summon your paradise and your gifts to share with the shallow ones. Praise Dithogua.
As those words are being said, Lord Dunn unclips the little box before you, your hands now being held, upturned, palm facing the air, by one of these lobotomized deep ones. The grip that they are holding you with, you feel could crush you in seconds. But they hold your hand there. But it's all right, because Lord Dunn's there. And he's one of the ruling family lords. And he unclips his box, surely ready to take care of this situation, and he removes from his box what can only be described as a rather interesting looking blade. A knife, shall we say, with 4 blades. And he raises it, and he walks, Anastasia, to you first. And with the first edge of the blade, he begins carving a symbol on your open palm. After carving this, he moves around to Tobias. After Tobias, he moves around to the Reverend. After the Reverend, he moves around to Emily. After Emily, he moves around to Charlotte, and after Charlotte, he moves around to Thomas. And whilst this language is being repeated, after this language is being said over and over and over, we break from one world into another, the waking into the slumber, and the slumber into the waking. We draw upon the power of the collected dreams that summon your paradise and your gifts to share with the Salawans. Praise Dithogua. These words, they resonate in your head. They resonate around the room. They resonate with the discordant music being playing, your hands being carved. And then he takes a glass, and beneath each of your hands collects the blood being spilled into it from drawing the symbol. And then raises this glass above his head and says loudly for everyone to hear, "Praise Dithogua!" and then smashes it down on the floor as hard as he can. As much as you're expecting a glass to smash on the floor, it hits the floor and it explodes into red mist. This mist washes out amongst everybody. You can't see a foot in front of your face. The only connection people have is with the deep ones, with their lobotomized brain holding your arm. But immediately, as soon as the red mist hits them, they disappear. The only person who can feel anybody else's connection is Anastasia, as you feel Tobias's hand still holding your hand. Everybody else, you are alone and you are in the mist, the red mist that is consuming you, and you hear screams, you hear shouts, you hear ripping, tearing, breaking. Thomas, what do you do?
Are we still feeling the grip of the deep ones? Are they gone?
Let go. They're gone.
Let go. I think Thomas's first thought, the red mist, is this more of Jenkins's trickery? Thomas is definitely starting to think that maybe there is more than just Jenkins's plan here, and he's just starting to get the idea that Jenkins might not be on the same side as Dunn and Hawthorne. But is there any similarity to what he experienced below the town?
With the red mist and the red jelly? You liken this most to when you were taken from Prideaux Manor. The mist consuming your family as you were dragged off by Jenkins.
We all know how well that worked, just giving in to the mist. I think Thomas this time is going to try and fight and get his way back. He's going to plunge head forwards into the mist, try and work out whether there's a way back into reality.
Excellent. Can you give me a constitution roll? Mr. Peter Owens, you finally make your way down to the beach. Hands on your knees. Want to track down a coastal run if ever there was one, and you find yourself standing at the edge of the beach. Isn't this where those lot, the uppers, the ones on the hill, didn't they play their Pall Mall game here the other day? Mr. Owens, the ground beneath you begins to shake, begins to quake. The exact spot where they played Pall Mall begins to crack. The sand begins to separate. You see the ground beginning to move, and protruding from that ground, rising from that ground, you see this red orb, this egg surfacing from the ground, revealing itself from beneath this hidden spot, and then the sand resuming its place beneath it. But what's more mind-bending than anything else, Mr. Owens, is that from Dunn Manor, behind you, up on the cliff, there seems to be this red mist pouring down onto the beach and surrounding this red orb, this red egg. You see this red mist shoot out over the ocean and hit the water, pulling something with it from the depths. The long depths, you can see this red mist shaking with tension, shaking with convulsions, and eventually you see, Mr. Owens, the strangest thing you've ever seen in your life. You see the red mist bringing to the shoreline of Kingscombe a shipwreck. A shipwreck is being brought across the side and crashes into the ground before you, encompassing this red orb. This egg of sorts, you see something in it. You see it, this mist, moving it, caring for it, comforting it, putting it inside the ship. Mr. Owens, you have just seen the ground separate, an orb appear from beneath it, and a ship flying through the sky. You will need to give me a sanity roll, please.
I figured that might be coming. Extreme success, 3 over 41.
With everything that you've seen, Mr. Owens, this is beyond baffling, but you're willing to accept this reality as something that is beyond normal. You have just seen a ship bring itself from the depths of the ocean to the shore. What's terrifying for you, Mr. Owens, is that as you look back out the ocean, you see a number of eyes, yellow eyes, all open and move towards the shore. Charlotte, you're in the circle. The mist is consuming you. What do you do?
How far ahead can Charlotte see? Is
A
it
foot in front of your
literally like
face.
hand in front of your face? Right. Charlotte reaches out with her left hand, the one that is not bleeding, and is trying to kind of reach out and try to see if she can touch anybody else. Can she find Anastasia? Can she find Emily? Can she find anybody? A friendly face. And she's calling out, Anastasia! Emily! Where are we? Are you there? Can you hear me? Phillipe! Phillipe, where are you?
You can't see Phillipe. You hear Anastasia talking to Tobias. You're alone, Charlotte. Alone in this red mist. You think you see a twinkling before you. You think you see the stars once again before you. And as much as you are terrified, there is a reality that dawns on you. That this is what your family wants. This is what it means to be a Dun. Reverend, the mist consuming you. You have moments to decide what to do. What is it that you do?
The Reverend has already closed his eyes and is thinking, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Then he opens his eyes and calmly thinks to himself, maybe whispers, you promised me knowledge if I release you. Show me what I must do to release you, and I will bring an end to this misery for your children.
Oh, nice. Miss Lambert. Reverend, could you give me a constitution roll as well, please?
Okay. That is a success. 43 versus 60.
That was a horrible failure of 96 against 40.
You see, after these lacerations upon your hands red raw, the glass being thrown, the red mist spilling out, the dancing, going wild. You see now as you look around collectively as a group that people are dancing. They seem to be dancing everywhere, masks down, or you see these rabbits through the red mist. And then, almost as if on the last words, you hear Lord Hawthorne, Lady Hawthorne, Lord Dunn, who is standing in the middle of you. Almost you hear them all together, all repeat at the same time. Praise Daithogua. The mist washes out of the room, leaves everything undone, pale. But you see out of the windows, looking out, as Reverend Prideaux did before, down to the beach. You see the red mist descending on the beach as if it's retreating to the beach. You see that there's a ship on the beach. And you hear Lord Dunn. Praise Daithogua. Praise. And then you hear what you can only describe as the sound of someone cutting an apple in half. And you realize as you look around that the dancing partners around you are taking it in turns to carve into each other on the dance floor around you. As you stand in this circle, the sole survivors of the Rabbit's Ball. Mr. Burrows, after hearing the tapping on the glass that you're in, what is it that you do as you see this yellow-coated gentleman standing on the other side?
His eyes widen in recognition of Mr. Kinnersley, the amicable spa attendant, and he begins to thrash and bang on the inside of the glass, hoping against hope he's going to be let out.
Mr. Burrows, Lord Hawthorne was very insistent that you see this as a reminder that you need to do what you are told. Is this something that you're willing to do, Mr. Burrows?
Nodding, frantic nodding.
Because as the tide rolls in, obviously the tube you're in is going to fill and you will drown, and I can see that you're already struggling there, Mr. Burrows. And he's tapping his neck as he says that.
Is Burrows able to speak? This tube isn't full of water yet.
Not quite yet. The tide is rolling in, as we've said, and you have been washed into this part of the tube because of the tide. You are fleeting between consciousness and unconsciousness at this stage.
Then weakly trying to clear his throat. Please, I'm hurt. Please, I'm bleeding.
Yes, you are, quite badly, Mr. Burrows, but unless you swear real, proper allegiance to Mr. Well, not to me, to Lord Hawthorne, then I'm afraid I can't let you out. This needs to be something that you give your life to, Mr. Burrows.
Yes. Of my life for Lord Hawthorne.
Yes, hold on. And there is a series of, you hear these metals kind of scratching this clank, 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 and you feel the tube you're in separate from the main tube, the one that had the red orb in, which is now gone. It's now moved. It's now no longer in this location that you found yourself in, and you find yourself washed out onto the floor as if someone had just flushed some kind of toilet. And the tube immediately closed, and you hear these metal clunk, clunk, these catches clacking back in place, and you find yourself lying on the floor, washed in seawater, struggling for life, struggling for breath. And Mr. Kinnersley leans down in his pristine yellow coat, and as he kneels over you, he cups your face in his hand and says, "Yes, Mr. Burrows, you will give your life for Lord Hawthorne." Thank you for joining us for Cult and Culpability. Remember, you can find us at www.miskatonicplayhouse.com, and you can also visit the main stage for other scenarios from the Miskatonic Playhouse, with links in the show notes below. Please like and subscribe, and if you can spare a minute to leave a review, it makes a huge difference to other like-minded listeners who will be able to find and enjoy our work. Until next time, when the curtain rises again.